Hi, my name is Jacqueline Kerb, and this is going to be my first video for the practicum class. I'm sitting here with a kindergarten teacher.
Hi.
Because my school is locked and being cleaned right now, so we are at my house. And we're going to be discussing kindergarten demographics and interventions for this year. We're going to be discussing fourth grade interventions this year, possibly getting to beginning of the year activities for students and parents, bouncing ideas back and forth from the conferences and the trainings that we went to this summer. We're going to be talking about homework plan for this year for all grade levels, kindergarten through fifth grade, and collaborative classroom experience. Okay? So in kindergarten, you guys have mostly unknowns coming into the grade level.
Yes, I would say about a quarter of the grade level comes up from pre-K at our campus.
Mm-hmm. And there's 3 pre-K classes.
3 pre-K classes, 4 kindergarten classes.
Okay. So fourth comes from pre-K. How many of those kids do you think go to daycare?
Not, you mean daycare before they went to pre-K? Or like after school daycare?
Or even before kindergarten. Like the ones that didn't go to the pre-K at Clifton Park?
I would say most of my students have gone to some sort of pre-K or some sort of daycare or Mother's Day Out program.
Okay.
I would say maybe a fourth haven't been in anything.
Okay. Fourth, no school experience. Do you guys do any type of like pre-test before they come into kindergarten? Like when they register, do they do anything?
They do a pre-test. Our campus instructional specialist does their pre-test, and it kind of goes over like the letters and their sounds, and can they rhyme? Do they know shapes? Just kind of basic skills to see where they're at.
Is there anything that you would like added or changed about that?
I think that sometimes we put too much on that test, and so the kids get split up into classes, and it kind of makes, like, they kind of get put, okay, all these low kids are together, and these high kids are together, and sometimes I don't feel like that is a good mix. Like, I think we all need the highs and the lows and the in-betweens.
Yeah, especially in kindergarten.
Yes, because they're all, even if they've been to daycare or they've been to some kind of program, they still they don't know how to be students yet.
Yeah. Would you say that you may even want to get rid of it? You think it's a waste of time?
I think it's a waste of time, but I can see how others find a value in it. So if you are wanting to cluster kids, then yes, it's purposeful. But I don't always agree with clustering. So
I know when I was in kindergarten, just because that was the only way I had ever really seen it done.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got why we were doing it. Like for the higher kids that were already reading.
Yes.
But then I don't know. By the end of the year, like at the beginning of the year, I always felt like, oh yeah. Like we're doing letters and sounds; those kids need to go. But by the end of the year, I always felt like
it kind of evened out.
It kind of evened out, and it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, and I know my last year in kindergarten, we didn't have cluster classes, and I was like, yeah, it didn't matter, at least in kindergarten.
Right.
They did it in the older grades, and I know with Hallie.
Mm-hmm.
I was, as a parent, I was happy that she was in the cluster class.
Right.
But as a teacher, I could see how, I don't know, it kind of didn't matter that much.
Like when you look at the research, that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Like,
so
it made me feel better, I guess, as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
But I see it as a teacher that, all my kids grew.
Yes.
So
yes, and yes, it's easier to push higher kids when they're all higher.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you need those higher kids with those little kids to help bring them up. Because when we're just going over letters and sounds at the beginning of the year, but if nobody knows what that sound makes, then you're spending a lot of time doing that when you have that. If you had that one kid that knew words that started with the sound, it would get the others thinking.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because they tend to mimic each other sometimes.
Yes.
Like, oh, okay, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Now I get it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. I know I had also kids that could read in kindergarten at the beginning of the year, but they didn't know how to share, and they didn't know how to take turns.
Yes.
And do those other important things that are super important in kindergarten.
Yes.
So that may, clustering may be something that we look at.
And sometimes when you put all the kids that are like that can't socially interact well with others, it makes the class hard.
Yeah, we had those kids.
Yeah.
Also, it's the kids that I thought were high, that, we had that 2-week period that we were, oh yeah, this kid's good to go. He needs to go to cluster. And I was so wrong about one of them. And
oh yeah,
like 2 weeks is not enough time to.
No, at that point you're just assessing how well of a student they are.
Yeah.
And not really what they know.
And when I watched a teacher give the pre-assessment to at kindergarten roundup, when it's supposed to be a happy, exciting time, and here they are already. What's this letter? What's this? I mean, I saw the anxiety that it created in the kids too.
Yeah.
And the parents, because they're like, oh, I didn't know they were going to do this, And now they're like wondering, where is my kid going to get put?
Absolutely.
Just because he, couldn't write his name yet.
Right.
So I know Tyler, my son, he couldn't write his name when he went into kindergarten because his pre-K refused to teach him stick the uppercase letters first. Oh. They were trying to make him write lowercase letters with curved lines. And I tried to tell them, like, that's like a next step.
Yes.
It's they get the straight lines first, and then when their brain's ready, then they can do curved lines. He never wrote his name in pre-K because they kept making him try to do curved lines, the E's and the R's and the Y's. I'm like, if you had taught him how to write capital letters, he would have been able to write it just fine. And even in kindergarten, he really wasn't ready, like didn't completely write his name with lowercase letters until like November.
And that's okay.
And that was okay. He can write his name now. Like, it all worked out. So that may be something we look at, maybe finding a more welcoming way to welcome students into kindergarten.
Even if it's just, here, draw me a picture.
Exactly. Sit down and color for me.
Yes.
I love that idea. Sit down and color.
Because if you look at how they draw and how they color, that tells you a whole lot about them.
Draw a picture of your family.
And then just have them tell you about it.
I think that's a way better approach. I think, just they can go sit and color while mom's filling out the paperwork.
Yes.
I think that's way better.
Yes.
I love that. That's great. That's good. And what do we have planned for interventions? Are y'all having aides again?
We should have 2 aides for our 4 teachers. And they help with the interventions. So we'll do them at the end of the day. And
you do it at the end of the day?
The end of the day.
Do you think that's the best time?
I don't think there is a perfect time to do it. I think you have to do what works for you.
Yeah, especially if somebody throws up during your RTI today. It's like,
it's over.
Okay, whatever.
Yes. So we first at the beginning of the year look at their MAP scores and kind of the assessments we've done with where they're at, and we use that MAP data to tell us, okay, they're working on these skills, and we group them based on that.
Okay.
And our aides pull the ones together that need the help with those skills.
Okay. Do they go class to class, or do they pull like one kid from?
So my partner and I,
or how y'all did it? I don't know how you did it last year. So.
My partner and I, we pulled. She would pull like the 2 from my class and the 2 from her class that needed that skill during intervention.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then we would work on skills as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
kind of the more crucial skills.
Mm-hmm. Did y'all have any programs that you had them use? Or
so
was it...
at first with that, we used a lot of the, what's it called? What did we have before maps? Not TPRI. Well, TPRI for reading, but what was the other one?
The other one for reading?
The math one.
Oh, M-Class?
M-Class. We used a lot of those strategies from the intervention strategy guides from TPRI and M-Class that we had previously, because MAPS doesn't come with any of that. So we use that. We also we use a lot of research to find ideas, and then once they got to a point where they were reading, we started using LLI with their aids.
LLI, that's right. Do you feel that the aids were successful in what they set out to help the kids with?
Yes, I think they were successful. I think depending on the aid, sometimes they need a little more guidance.
Okay.
But yeah, I think if you outline it well enough for them, then it's helpful.
Do you know if our aides get any type of training to help those kids with those skills?
I know they got trained on LLI, but other than that, I don't think so.
Okay.
So we would sit down and talk to them and tell them, okay, this is what I want, this is how I want it.
Do you think you're given enough time to do that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So maybe...
Because they go with our kids to specials, so you're pulling them away from that to talk to them, or you're pulling away from your own instruction to talk to them. Because they can't. I mean, if they stay after school, that's their free time. Like they don't have to. So
maybe before school starts.
I mean, even then, that's on their free time.
Well, don't they come?
Yeah, but they have duty.
No. Like the 2-week period before school starts.
During in-service. Yes, that we spend a lot of time talking to them then as well.
Okay, but they don't go anywhere.
But that only gets you through the beginning when the skills change.
That's true. I guess in kindergarten, I mean, it's like count to 100.
Yes,
it's simpler
it's more,
than like 5th grade.
A lot of it you don't even know
geometry or whatever.
Anything.
Yeah,
because it is oral. But
and they do that in the hallway, right?
Yes.
Is it still done in the hallway?
Yes.
Do you like it in the hallway?
I like it in the hallway. Yes.
Like it in the hallway, so we can keep it there.
Especially with class sizes, if you have 3 kids in the hallway, 3 kids with you, then only half your class is having to be independent doing a station, and you don't have so many, especially at the beginning of the year, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
So 4th grade does not have any aids. And the way they have it set up right now, we've got 2 pods of 3 teachers and 1 pod in the portables and no aids. RTI time is done the last 30 minutes
of the day.
In the last 15 minutes to get everybody back where they're supposed to be and packed up.
Right.
So the problem right now that we have is I teach writing all day long, or writing and social studies. So I have a hour and a half writing block. We have lunch and specials. Then I have another hour and a half writing block and another hour and a half writing block. The problem is the RTI time is down at the bottom. And basically what they're doing right now is if the child is failing reading or math, which one are they failing worse? And during that last period in the day, they will leave the teacher that they're with to go to that intervention.
So it's all the same amount of time, but the last class gets shorted 30 minutes?
Kind of.
Okay.
No, it's all the same amount of time, and then there's like a 30-minute block
and then that's separate. Okay.
Yes. What I don't understand, me going into 4th grade this year and not knowing how it works, I don't see how, we've got a pod of 60 kids, 20 of them need help in math. That's an entire class.
Right.
And so what I would like to see happen is interventions put already into that block that they're in there.
Right.
Such as like small
Like
group,
small groups.
like small group rotation. But that's like a whole other way of training teachers.
Yes, and if they haven't been doing anything that way, it's hard to get them to understand and want to implement.
Yes.
So when I taught 4th grade, I did do like a daily 5 rotation with my students. But most of my team did not.
Yeah.
Because that was a whole new way of thinking.
Yeah.
Where I preferred to work in small groups, they preferred to work in whole group because that's what they were used to.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do about that.
I think the best way to try to do it is like you do it, and then they during yours, and then they can kind of observe and see how it works. That it's not something crazy. That they're not just playing at other places. Like they're actually still doing work. They're getting something out of it.
Because with the current way we have it, because the principal and the assistant principal, they really wanted us to go to 2 pods, like two teachers teaching a group of kids.
Right.
So I would teach like reading, writing, social studies, and you would do math and science. And then we would have about 2.5 hours for each of us.
Right.
And we would have much more possibility of getting interventions done in that time. And I could do my interventions for my subjects, and you could do your interventions for your subjects, and then they would never have to sacrifice one or the other.
Right.
Because one of the team members pretty much threw a fit about having, she had been teaching science this whole time, just science for the last like 15 years. When more classes were added as the school grew, the administration decided it would be best to have less rotations. They also, this 3rd grade group coming up, did not handle transitions well. So they're like, they already have 2 teachers and they're not handling transitions well. We cannot send them to 4th grade where they're going to have 4 transitions.
Right.
It should be a huge waste of time. It already took them so much time getting them settled down back and forth. Wade King, that I went to Get Your Teach on, he had amazing videos of kids transitioning, singing songs. In the hallways, it's not...
Older kids?
Yes, older kids. I was really excited about that. He also gave us like a big binder. So it wasn't a big binder. It was a binder, and one of the inserts was transition songs. That's a whole different approach to transitions, because normally it is quiet in the hallway, line up, be quiet, get your stuff out, get ready, be quiet.
Yes.
And what happens? No, that doesn't happen.
You know,
you just yell, be quiet all the time. You know?
Because they only have 10. This is your 10-minute chance to talk to their friend.
Exactly. So what they had these kids doing were they had them singing songs, and they would change them like every couple weeks so the kids would stay interested. Exactly. And it was amazing. All the kids were singing going down the hallway.
Like popular songs from the radio? Okay.
Yes. My binder is somewhere that had the songs in it. But they were like to the pop songs. Okay. So the kids wanted to sing them, you know? And if I could get everybody on board to do that, like if I could show them like, look guys, we can sing going down the hallway, and they're ready to go.
Right.
And they also did like every time they would end a song, they would go, and they would let the kids, like, that was the signal. You had to be ready by the time that ended. It wasn't like you had to be ready. It worked. They didn't have to threaten because it worked.
Right.
So that's something that transitions in the hallway to save time. Songs.
I like that.
Songs in the hallway. It just depends also, like, we have 3rd and 4th grade in our grade level, so I just I don't want to disturb anybody else.
Right.
And that may be something that has to wait until we have our own hallway, because when the middle school opens, the junior high kids will go to that new middle school, and we'll have this whole other building, because like I said, we have 3rd and 4th grade in the hallway, and actually 2 of the 3rd grade teachers refuse to move rooms. They're in the middle of our 4th grade classes.
So, but when you're transitioning, isn't it already a disruption anyway, because they're talking and they're loud? So it would kind of be a more organized
chaos.
Yes. Organized chaos.
Yeah, and not so tense that the kids feel like they can't say things.
And maybe that's something you have to work out with that grade level, that, hey, maybe y'all can take your brain break at this time. The 10-minute brain break.
That's true. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because third grade, like I said, they have team teachers of 2. We have team teachers of 3, and again, like I said, they refused to move because when the junior high opens, we have one more year as we are, and then everybody's going to be moving rooms. So they didn't want to move their room this year and next year.
I get it.
I get it too. I don't know if they just didn't want to fight that battle, but I can see how when we're going to be transitioning 3 times throughout the day, and they're just transitioning twice, like, it's going to cause...
I mean, I guess logical consequences with that.
That's true. Ooh, I like that. Logical consequences. Speaking of which, I was pretty much told for 4th grade, it's like whatever I want to do in my classroom for discipline, but... But it would be nice if we had some type of system for that. But I didn't put that on my list to talk about, but I'm going to make a note of that. Discipline plans. Do y'all use the same discipline plan in kindergarten?
Like all the teachers?
Yeah. No? You do your own thing?
We all do our own thing.
Do you like it that way?
I like it that way because I feel like every class is different every single year, and I feel like my management style is different. Like, it's similar, but it's different every year because you have to adapt to the kids that you have. And if that's not working for those kids, then you got to try something else. And I've come from a campus where you had to do your discipline the way the campus-wide program was set.
I remember.
And it wasn't effective.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't, it's just like your own kids. You can't tell somebody else how to raise their kids because their kid is different from your kid. That won't be effective.
Yeah. This is probably, I shouldn't compare kids to like wild animals or animals, but it makes me think of like if you were to put birds and ferrets and hamsters and fish in the same, and want to treat them the same way.
Right, and you can't.
And you can't.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so that's what I really like that, and I'm going to try to remember that.
It's just like as a principal, you can't treat teachers the same way because you coming to me with criticism might be okay with me, but with the other teacher, you have to word it different.
Yeah.
Because they don't take it well.
Yeah. So you still hold them to the same standard.
But you have to come at it at a different approach.
Yes. And so with students, we still have the same high expectations for everyone, but we get them there a different way. We approach it a different way. I love that.
Fair is not always equal.
I love that. Treating each class differently. I know as Salado grows and people have different management styles and parents, start to talk and, well, this teacher does this and this teacher does that. I think it's something that we're just going to have to learn to deal with and let them know that we can't just make it easier for the parents to understand what's going on just so it's easier for them so they don't have as much to keep up with.
Right. And
it's not what's best for the kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kids come first. Always.
I think if ever I'm an administrator, I will try to remember that. But yes, sometimes secretaries complain that, well, this teacher's doing this party this way, and this teacher's doing this way, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, yes, it's a lot to keep up with, but that's what's best for the kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can't. What's the thing, like, where you go to the doctor and the doctor puts a Band-Aid on everybody?
Oh, I've seen that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Letting teachers...
Because you don't want your kid to be a cookie-cutter person. So
Yeah.
you don't want your kid's teacher to be that way.
Sure.
Or their classroom.
Letting teachers decide what's best for their classroom. Ooh. At the beginning of the year when they ask us to turn all that stuff in, I want to remember that. Yeah. Okay. Beginning of the year activities for students and parents. Do y'all hold like a kindergarten
like parent night?
Parent night? Yeah.
No, we only do meet the teacher, but again, at my previous school, we did have like a parent night for each grade level.
Okay.
And I really liked that because I was able to share with the parents, this is what you can expect from us. This is what we're looking at. We're just aiming for Christmas right now. This is where we want them to be by then. This is what is coming, so that they're prepared and they're not. It helps answer all those questions that they have, but they don't want to ask.
Like a grade level specific powwow, kind of.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So y'all would communicate expectations at those. Oh, that's great.
Academic, socially, behaviorally. I would even make a little like
like
brochure.
A foldable. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
Just to kind of say, because it's a lot of information.
Sure.
So here's a recap. So you can take it home, think about it.
I think I did that 1 year in kindergarten. Maybe, or I tried to. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure.
Now I do it with my parent-teacher conferences in October, where I send home, like, this is what I'm expecting them at the end of the year. Just so parents can see, like, your kid doesn't know their letters right now. I need them reading on a book that looks like this, level D. So we're going to have to work together on that.
Yeah. I like that. Okay. Maybe that's something...
I can send you the template.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Template. I don't think Hallie's teachers ever gave me anything like that.
But how helpful would that have been to say, okay, well, she's already got, she knows, she kind of gets this concept. That won't be something I need to work on, but this concept.
Yeah. I did a flip book this last year where it had like the different color pages and you would put like behavior, birthdays, homework, like all that kind of stuff. And then I put a magnet on the back so they could stick it on the fridge. And that was really cute. It was a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. I do that too. I do that too to start. I do it for Meet the Teacher night. And it is a lot of work, but I've had parents give me good feedback. It's either I don't read it because it's a lot or that was the most helpful thing ever. So
that's true.
At least I'm covering my basis so that they have all the information they need if they want to access it. I mean, you're always going to have people that it's just, they're never going to read it if it's a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
But they want to know.
Yeah, they just want to ask you.
Yes. So.
Do y'all do, but open house is usually pretty early in the year, isn't it?
It's before school starts.
Open house?
Oh, open house.
That's usually like in September.
It's in September, yes.
It's too early, isn't it?
It's too early.
Why do we do it so early?
I don't have a whole lot to show you because we've been setting up routines and trying to get the classroom started. We haven't been worrying about making products to show you.
I'm not sure why we always have it so early. I don't know if it has to do with something about communicating Title I funds, like about how Title I funds are going to be spent. I know the principal always would bring the parents in the cafeteria, 15 minutes before it was supposed to start or whatever, and she would tell them how they're going to spend the Title I funds because I think she has to by law. So I don't know if that's why it happens so early.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe we could just send home a letter about how we're spending those funds.
No, I think you have to have.
You have to have an actual meeting. Okay.
But so at my previous school, that instead of open house, we had those parent meetings. It replaced open house. So like they talked about the Title I things, but it replaced that so early on. And I think we had an open house more like in January.
Oh. Yeah.
Because we had reading night, we had math night, we have science night, but you don't have a whole lot to say. I just saw you 3 weeks ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, we'll see if maybe we could move that, do something with that where it's not so early. I loved when I went to the conference in Grapevine. They talked about they held like kind of like a donuts with dad type thing, but it wasn't. It was like dinner with dad, and they had 3 people show up. And the problem was because in that school everybody worked at night. We had lots of retail people that were cashiers and those kinds of jobs, so servers. They worked at night, and they couldn't come to anything at night. So what they did was on a Saturday morning, or really like around like brunch time, they took everything that they went and served lunch in one of their most improper, like I think in that area it would be the apartments, Bryson Apartments. They took hot dogs and chips and drinks and everything to the apartment complex and had it there.
I like that.
Not
that helps build community.
Yes, and they had they served over 300 hot dogs.
Wow.
So it was much more involvement than trying to get people into the school. So instead of people coming into the school went out in the community. And I think that was an amazing idea.
I think the hard part with that is getting people on board with it.
Getting people on
because
board.
that's their free time too. So I get it. I think that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would build so many relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also taking away from teacher-family time. So
it's true.
It's a hard balance.
I know. And teachers, we're already so busy.
Mm-hmm.
We already give so much time up there. I don't know if there would be like an incentive.
Or it could be like during in-service. Or like one of those work days.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that idea. That's something I really want to try. Salado, they're so good. They really are pretty good about coming in. Like when we had Spring Fling, we raised like over $13,000 for PTA. It was ridiculous. I mean, there was people everywhere. And we're a small town, so people like literally drive like less than a mile to get to the school.
Right.
But there are a few neighborhoods around here, and we do have we are Title I, so there are impoverished families that may appreciate us going out there. So it may be something we want to look at, going out in community. But yeah, it was just a hot dog. They spent like $50 on buns and hot dogs, and no plates or anything. Just gave them a hot dog, and that was it. So I don't know what else you would do besides hot dogs because they're so cheap.
I think hot dogs are the way to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Or pizza.
But
hot dogs are easier.
They're super easy. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking of was donuts.
Donuts. I like the concept behind like donuts with dad, muffins with mom, but I don't like the concept behind it because if you don't have a mom around, you don't have a dad around, like it's hard.
Yeah.
So.
And even though I completely agree, and even though like we have a flyer about like the daddy-daughter dance and all that kind of stuff, but feel free to bring whoever. It's still just calling it that. I still feel
it's hard on those kids, especially. I've had kindergartners who their mom has died. Yeah, and it's recent, and it's a sting to be like, moms are coming. Well, here's my aunt. Yeah, and then I love what I saw the other day. They talked about instead of calling it donuts with dad, they just called it donuts with grown-ups. That's cute. I like that. I thought that was great. So. Because we have that daddy-daughter dance, and our community is growing, and the demographics are changing, and people don't feel welcome to bring mom to the dance because mom is dad and mom. Right. So